Like, if let's say this was a contest, like drink gin with Ryan or sip tequila with The Rock. Like if that was the contest, I sort of see Ryan showing up like, let's get hammered, right? whereas I see The Rock showing up like, hey man, I'm here to shoot tequila with you. I got 45 minutes and then I got to get on a plane. Like
yeah. Get the photo op and go.
Yeah, photo, sip. You like it? Okay, my representative's going to sit with you and I'm out of here. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding, episode 132. I'm here with my co-host, Dusty Hanshaw, and of course, our producer, Scott McNally. What is going on, guys? We got to remind them to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
And comment with questions for the next episode. I'll make sure.
Yeah, we love questions. We love questions and direct compliments.
Yes. Even if they're lies, that's perfectly fine.
Even if they're lies. Well, I tell my girlfriend that all the time.
Exactly.
I don't care if it's true. Just be convincing.
Yeah.
Sell
it.
Okay.
Sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. How's things going, Dusty?
Things are good. It's getting busy. I just realized I had to book. I'm doing FitCon in Utah for Transcend. So I booked that, and I'm starting to realize like there's a lot of booking and going places happening. We got the LA Fit Expo. You're heading off to FIBO. I dodged that shit for not getting the jab. Good for me.
Do you even need it anymore? What do you need it for now? Do they still make you have to go to Europe?
Yeah, currently yes.
Okay, but you don't need a test. I don't think you need a test anymore. You just need the jab.
No, you just have to have been jabbed. Yes, and I told them, I'm like, I've taken all sorts of shots, but apparently not the right ones. I was like, I'll take one before the flight. What do you want me to take?
I still think that, I still think 20 years from now, we're going to find there's a correlation between trend and survival rates. I'm just saying.
There has to be. I mean, look how quickly I shot through that. It was like 3 days. Scott wasn't taking real trend.
I wasn't there.
I was on deck at the time. Yeah,
I don't want to talk about the bullshit, but wasn't there like some suggestive, and I'm not going to say studies that show it, but wasn't there like some like in vitro evidence that like THC was like
another thing that would make sense,
right? Like just a little bit of a hindrance to its ability to like,
that little sour gummy every night does its job.
Yeah, it would be funny, eh? It'd be funny. I got some great.
I had all the things.
Show.
Nice, good. I haven't even opened mine.
And yeah, and even if they're not great questions, we can make them great by giving them good ansers, right?
We've got some on the last YouTube episode too. People left them. So
we got it. Do you have any good ones to go right away? Because I like rewarding those people.
I can't say they're good or not. I see the list and I see, hey, I got a question. So I hate to lead the show. Like, here's our big question, and then what do you prefer, bananas or apples?
Finale that we'll save, but
I got one though. I got one here. This is from Jim, and he's also part of the Patreon. I want to say thanks to everybody who is supporting the show on Patreon. And he commented this on YouTube, though. And he says, for the next episode of It's Just Bodybuilding, Dave Palumbo calls bodybuilding competitions beauty pageants. My question is, how much influence does looks, handsome or not so handsome, have in bodybuilding competitions? And does it vary by level, amateur, pro? Mostly asking for men.
Well,
I think he's missing the point on the beauty pageants a little bit, because I would not be anywhere near pro if it was a beauty pageant.
Yeah, I mean, Dave calls them beauty pageants in like a comically, he's being comical and sort of comparing that you're up there strutting your stuff and it's all about how you look.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's means that it's actually like your face and hair that wins a bodybuilding show. The other divisions, obviously, this is like a factor. Men's physique, yes, absolutely. Women's bikini, like isn't figure even face and hair and makeup? Like, they're factored in. Like, so the only category that gets away with just being like unaltered is men's open bodybuilding. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny. And I've been to so many shows that I don't ever remember seeing a situation where I thought, one bodybuilder beat another bodybuilder because he was a better looking dude. I've never ever left a show wondering, oh, is that like a facial thing?
He was
never
so
ever
handsome.
seen that.
Yeah, you've never heard that either.
So
he won the Mr. Olympia just because he was so damn handsome, you know?
No, I've never seen that. And in fact, many times I've been like, man, that guy's really handsome, but he's not winning.
So, it's not gonna happen. Yeah.
You know,
thank God.
Is it like, yeah, I decided to think in bodybuilding, just the judges, I know this. Well, I'm not going to say for a fact because I haven't spoken to every judge on the planet, but generally from all the judges I know, they love judging men's open bodybuilding because it's the only category where they don't have to fucking do that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think you'd factor in, the thing I don't like is when you get into that, you also are going to run into the fact that you have natural things you prefer. You know, I mean, it's very simple. Yeah. Like, you know, most people, if you're like, oh, this is my friend, you know, Jeff, he's always dating a blonde. That's what he's attracted to. You know what I mean? And, and on down the list, it's, you know, thank God it's not. And I couldn't even judge those. I'd only have like this. It'd be the same 3 women winning every show because I'm like, she's a little off, but she's still hot. It's fine.
Yeah, that's my girl. That's my girl. Yeah,
I like her thicker. Let's do this.
Yeah. What about male versus female judges? Do you think the female judges let the men's open influence? Like, do they look at Bumstead's pretty hot? Like, if they're looking at a classic division, well, I guess classic we're not talking about, but
yeah,
you know, are they looking at that?
Maybe it goes the other way though. Maybe they're like, but you know, I feel a little bad for him. He has to walk around looking like that.
Give him the prize.
Let's reward those quads. Because I mean, he's got to cover those legs up the rest of the goddamn year because he lives in Alberta. But that face he's stuck with. Let's give him this win.
This is all he's got. You know,
exactly. This is his moment. Give it to him.
And that moment in time was forever referred to as the dusty point. He gets
exactly. That's how I got the nod. They're like,
how did that guy win?
This guy's good looking.
Dusty point. He got a dusty point. He got a dusty point from 2 judges. And it bumps him up.
I had like a couple of them because you had that, and then they're like, this fucker won't leave.
Just get him out of here.
Get him out of here. 4 years in a row, he keeps coming back.
I've got one.
What else you got, Scott? Oh, go ahead.
I got one. I just want to ask it because it might be fun. But who's name your favorite 80s bodybuilders?
80s.
Samir Banoun.
Yeah, that goes way back. Like, you know, I started training in 1990, so we're even pre-me at this point. Although I had all the magazines. I had the 80s magazines, right? Because they're laying around the gym. So I was reading the Barry DeMay and Rich Gaspari and all those articles. But yeah.
Lee Haney.
I was going to say, if I was going to look back,
90s.
Only based on looking back, because I didn't know anything about then, I would say Lee Labrada would be my favorite from back then. I always loved the fact that guy could stand with anyone at his size and hang.
Like what? Yeah, and he was like 185 in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, I was 185 in the 80s, and I was born in the 80s. Think about that.
The guy who asked the question mentioned Bertil Fox, who we all know what happened to Bertil. And I know our friend Dino has a lot of Bertil Fox stories because he was like the fucking man over there at the time, you know? And of course, Bertil isn't he still in prison serving life for that murder?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Crazy story with him. And I would say, you know, I had to show, as I do, I was talking to a younger bodybuilder the other day and we were just talking about small waists. And,
Jed,
dog,
mom's home.
Hey, there's an army outside the door. Apparently, he's off to fend for my safety. So, I talking about small waists, and all of a sudden, I just remembered Brian Buchanan.
Oh God!
And I was like, I got to pull up a picture of Brian Buchanan and show this guy. And I pulled it up and showed him, and he was just like, "What the fuck? His waist." And like most people don't know Brian Buchanan, but like when you look at the photos now. You're just like, whoa, because now we have we're kind of in that you know, yeah, they're bringing back the waist. Look at Brian Buchanan, you know? So he's like a Lee Haney with an even crazier V taper.
That's crazy. That is nuts.
His right arm looks like it might be close to as big as his waist.
Yeah, he was awesome. And look at the condition in the quads, like the upper quads you can see in that photo.
Yeah.
Like he was awesome. And you look back now and you think like, man, he didn't get looked at like he should have. I don't know. Nowadays, like if you know, modern him up a bit, put him on the right shit and get him bigger, but with the same waist to shoulder ratio, imagine seeing that now in the men's open.
Oh God, be frightening. Like, you look though, like, just pick apart the muscle, like you're not seeing anything missing other than a waist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously he's probably, you know, he probably only weighs 230, which is like, you know, 30 pounds too small for the modern era and all that stuff. But god damn, you know, yeah, he was an awesome bodybuilder.
That's cool.
Just imagine the drug bill. That would be $25.99, sir.
Exactly. For what? The entire prep.
Yeah.
And that's 80's prices. He's buying Sustanon for $2 an amp.
Oh, that's
yeah. Yeah. You know, I like to show people, you know, like that's fun for me, making everybody look at him. Like, look at that. You know?
Yeah, well, especially this one he doesn't know. He didn't know his name.
Here's one with his legs too. You can see the whole physique from top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
arms are nuts, man.
He looks a lot like Lee Haney.
For sure.
Just smaller waist. Okay. What do you got?
Oh, this is a fun one actually. That Ron and I've already discussed. But what cryptos are you holding right now?
Oh, me. Mostly Ethereum and Bitcoin, but I also have a portfolio of about, I'd say probably 10 or 12 others.
Right.
And they have like pretty equal amounts of most of them, and just having some fun and seeing which ones, you know, hang in there. And I'm sure a couple of them are going to go to zero at one point and the companies will fold and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But some of them might take off. You know, I got a fair amount of Cardano and some Solana, and then I have some like kind of like, you know, fun stuff. If you know a bit about, you know, the metaverse projects, and I have some of those. And so I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's having fun, but mostly Ethereum and Bitcoin, because like that's where most of the trading volume is. So those are the most, you know, if you're going to hold, I believe that's a little bit safer to hold those two, especially Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I bought some Ethereum.
You guys?
Did you? Yeah, I bought like $500 worth the other day, and it was low at the time, and now it's worth like $590. So I'm like feeling pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Scott's like, nice. Yeah. I'm set.
Yeah.
But I think it's funny. I was buying as it was dipping.
Yeah.
And I have to admit that I missed a window because it dipped a little too far in my brain. And I used to gamble a ton, go to Vegas. And I used to warn guys, like, don't start chasing losses. Like, in your head, like, well, if I just keep going, eventually I'm owed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, this is not gambling; it's different. But I did consider buying another $5,000 when it was at its lowest, which would have been, you know, some nice turns, even the last couple of days. And I was like, I got a lot in there. We'll leave it. We're just gonna leave it.
Yeah.
And of course, this morning I woke up and looked at some of the numbers. I'm like, why would I not put $5,000 more in? Why did I not do that?
my accountant messaged me. He's like, hey, you pulled a lot of money out of your corp. And I was like, yeah, you know, I've been buying the dip. And he goes, just remember, you got to pay taxes on the corp money you pulled out, like at the end of the year. Yeah. So like, you know, keep that in mind. And I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry. I got the math going in my head and I've got some set aside. But he was like, hey, you know,
it's a pretty large amount that you're definitely going to owe taxes on. It's not there anymore.
Yeah. You know, this isn't already totally covered. Just remember that, you know? So yeah, it was funny. Just buying the dip, good. You know how it goes. So, but yeah, I too hit my limit. I know what you mean. Like I hit my limit where I was like, this dip can go fuck itself.
Yeah, because it dipped twice, and I did. Each time it went, I just did another 5, and then when it dipped real good, I was like, and this is where I puss out.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be like, I'm done for the year. I'm just gonna sit.
We're good. We'll see what we have here. Okay. You guys keep looking. I'm scanning here.
I had one that was supposed to be for it. We missed it for Turner and Dusty, and this one was from Patreon as well. Throw this up. Shout out to Mina. He says, since both are intense MFers in the gym, I'm curious to know what markers Dusty and Turner look for in terms of when it's time to pull back / deload. How do you guys manage fatigue when you've been pedal to the metal for a while? And then he says, bonus, how do you guys typically set up your working sets? Like one top set, one back off set, pyramid up, only do one all out Dorian style set, etc.
I approach, cruise periods, as I call them, the same as I always have, which is the most basic thing is if my numbers start to plateau, is the first step. Obviously, if I have any, I don't call them injuries, but any things that are bothering me that are starting to hinder, I'll look and say, okay, how deep are we into this? If we're past 8 weeks and I've got something in my forearm that's been bothering me for over a week, good enough. I'll go into a cruise right then and there, because that issue is only going to get worse, most likely, if I don't, and it'll start to be what ends the blast anyways. I think in hindsight, what I would suggest to people is the moment you think it's time to start a cruise period, you probably should have 2 weeks ago. Because we love to train. And I think that that's what gets missed sometimes is a lot of us, and I mean, I've been guilty of this even within the last few years, where you forget that step back enables 2 steps forward. You got to take that break here and there. If you're going to train truly with progressive overload, it can't be year round, And the only thing I'm going to add that he did not ask that people screw up on all the time with progressive overload is, let's say you finish this blast and your squats are 405 for 10. Okay. That's your heavy set, straight set. When you come back in 2 weeks and you get back to squats, don't put 405 on the bar and say you're going to try to get 11. What you want to do is go back probably 4, 5, 6 weeks from that previous blast and start with those numbers. So that might be 365 for 10. That's where people screw up their blasts, is they're trying to just get going. And it's not to say that you won't get 405 for 11 today. You might. The problem is it's not going to be very long before you're not beating those numbers. And that's where you're going to start resisting the idea that it's time for a cruise, that you're 5 weeks into a blast. So that's probably the biggest error people make is that right there, is how they actually approach the next blast, So that's it. And as far as this question, it depends. Each blast I set up differently. Sometimes it is a top set and a back off. If I do a rest pause, then that's it. It's a rest pause, set and done. So those things, I think, are another area that people change with experience. Because I'll also part of, sometimes if I'm deeper into a blast, especially honestly, just being older, and quite honestly, my strength, I always thought that my strength would slow down at some point and I would have to kind of adjust. And I realized even before I got sick, I had to start finding ways to make it harder because I was getting stronger consistently. And I was Ron has told me about this a million times. The risk to reward was getting backwards. So it was okay, instead of trying to get stronger this blast, let's do 6 count negatives and start lighter, and then get strong at that. And then the only funny thing that would happen is I started eventually using the same numbers with 6 count negatives. And you're like,
yep.
What is safer, but what else can we do? And I did start doing even pre-exhausting and things, because there just comes a point where you have to be logical and say the joints, the tendons, all those things. I'm not going to say that you're trying to not get stronger. You're trying to get stronger in a different way.
Yeah.
Which it's not always, can we just add more weight? Because it's not even about fear. It's just logic. If if you're getting under, 1,500 pounds or something crazy on a hack squat, it's it's really just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You know.
Did I see Dusty on the Smith machine squat the other day? Was that?
Yeah.
Dude, that 5 plates, just smashing them out like nothing.
And the control you had in that's what was really impressive with that. It's a lot of weight to be moving with that kind of control.
Well, I just I found with that is it really, I connect better that way too. And I've been working with a lot of my clients this way, especially if they have strengths. You gotta ask yourself, okay, yeah, I'm getting stronger, but what's moving it?
Yeah.
Am I hipping it up? Am I blasting it up? What's going up? Yeah. And obviously the negative is really important as well. But so to me, if you're squat, hack squat, Smith squat, you should be able to feel the muscles that are slowing it down. If you can't feel the muscle that's fighting, you're going too fast. You just are, you know, right. And that is very helpful. And again, I mean, I think a lot of people would see, that's why I really jam home on my page. You got to find what works for you, because I have this whole conversation with that on squats or curls, and I'll turn around and just throw around shit on rows because it works for me, you know. And I have tried the opposite. I've said, okay, I'm going to slow it down. It works on everything else. It doesn't work for me on back. So, you know, that's why I really like to jam that home to people, is nothing that I put out, I'm promoting. This is just what I do, you know, and I think more people should connect to that, because yeah, I love, plus again, like you said, Scott, I mean, if I can control 500 now, well, then what would I do 700 if I'm just blasting them out? I don't want to do that. Like, let's make 500 harder if we can, and then work our way up to 5.25, you know, or something like that.
Right.
So pretty simple. Bum, bum, bum.
Okay. No. I got one.
Shoot.
Do we want to go off bodybuilding?
Yes.
Always.
I hate when we keep getting on bodybuilding. I thought it's just not bodybuilding.
This is from a frequent listener of the show. I know her. She's awesome.
Her.
Yeah, exactly. Her. Would you rather sip gin with Ryan Reynolds or shoot tequila with Dwayne Johnson?
Well, that's easy for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I would go gin with Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Because I found that you can purchase around The Rock's opinion. So
okay. Is this where
I like to talk
to
people who don't talk where people pay them to speak.
Right. Okay.
Dusty doesn't have drinks with parrots.
Tell us more, Dusty. Okay. Fair enough. And what do you think having gin with Ryan Reynolds would be like?
Oh, God. I think that would be very interesting. I would love to get to know, I mean, any people. I always find like someone like him, like, could you imagine the stories? Like, I think of the stories that I have that can't make the air. And I think, what is that guy's life?
He's hilarious. Plus, he's a great storyteller. Plus, he's from Vancouver. So he's kind of extra, like, he's local to me. So, I mean, his Twitter handle is Van City Reynolds, I think, is his Twitter.
Yes.
Van City Reynolds, yeah. So he's like a local around here. So, but he's super funny, and he has an eye for the absurd. So,
meaning?
Well, like, some people don't notice absurdity around them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he does. And think of all those people he's worked with that are absurd by nature. All those like Hollywood people. So I have a feeling he has a bunch of stories that he only tells his friends, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Like, he doesn't tell them on the talk shows because they're like totally probably exposing to some of the fucking people he's around all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I just find that there's got to be another level of, like I said, absurd that's just running in that whole Hollywood culture at all times.
Multiple levels.
Yeah, and he seems like the type of guy, like, just from how he sounds and how he makes fun of himself. And plus he seems like a typical Canadian, like he's a hockey fan and all that shit. I just imagine he's a bit of an outsider in the real Hollywood.
Oh, he's definitely an outsider.
Inside.
Are you kidding me?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that dude. He's very likable.
Way.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the online stabs that he and his wife do.
Yeah, at each other. They're so hilarious.
Hysterical. Have you seen that?
Have you seen that, Scott?
No.
What they do?
No.
Oh,
Dude,
it's so funny. So funny. Like on like, what is it, on their birthdays, they do stuff to one another on Twitter. Like he'll post a picture of him with her and like say Jake Gyllenhaal, and he'll be like, here I am with Hollywood superstar Jake Gyllenhaal and some slut.
or they'll literally crop the picture so you can just barely tell that they're there.
Oh my god!
So you know they're there, and he'll just be like, "I'm here with Jake Gyllenhaal," and you'll see that she was in the picture for sure.
Yeah, I went and saw the Golden Gate Bridge today, but she's like cropped out. It's so fucking funny.
Oh, it's great.
Okay.
Those two are, because like, and again, that's one of those things where when I see that stuff, I'm like, okay, your home life has got to be hysterical if this is your public harassing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So where are you guys at? What you didn't answer?
I sort of like,
you did answer because you said you would go with the homeboy then.
With Ryan, yeah. I think Ryan would be a safe bet. I sort of see The Rock, and this doesn't really have anything to do with The Rock, but I sort of see like if let's say this was a contest, like drink gin with Ryan or sip tequila with The Rock. Like if that was the contest, I sort of see Ryan showing up like, let's get hammered, right? whereas I see The Rock showing up like, hey man, I'm here to shoot tequila with you. I got 45 minutes, and then I got to get on a plane. Like,
yeah. Get the photo op and go.
Yeah, photo, sip. You like it? Okay, my representative's going to sit with you, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I sort of see that as like what it would actually be. So
that's probably how it would go down. Yeah.
I'm thinking too deeply into it. You know what I mean?
That's fantastic.
Max entertainment time. Probably go to Ryan.
I don't follow a lot of media, honestly, so I don't really know a lot about these two fellas that we're discussing here. But I do know The Rock has a gym that he travels around with. So if there's a chance that I can get a workout in with him in the gym, I'm going with him just in case that might happen. Be like, hey, bro. You know, the gym's out back. It's all set up. I'd be like, yeah,
we've only had a couple shots.
Yeah.
I think we should absolutely do front squats now. I think it's time.
Yeah. Set to 20.
My tequila's not that strong.
There we go. Okay. Do you have one, Dusty? Or Scott have another good one? I'm glad we were able to explore the celebrity what if question.
I've got a would you rather. But it is bodybuilding related. Just warning you. Also, I did want to tell you, Ron, we did get somebody message us one day, or they commented and they said, enough of the crypto. I don't want to hear any more about crypto. So we do have one anti-crypto fan. Okay. There's one guy that doesn't like the crypto.
Back. I hope you didn't sell, bro. Oh wait, never mind.
Well, that entire 3 minutes of the hour and a half episode, they can just click forward on.
But that's what the timestamps are for.
You need to put a stamp and just put his name and say, do not watch from here to here.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so he says, would you rather have an amazing physique, like one of the best of all time, but be weak as a little girl with polio, or literally...
He threw in polio.
He did. That was rough. I didn't say it. It wasn't my word, so I could say it. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't have said that.
Like, weak is bad enough, but also fighting off polio.
Yeah.
Or literally be superhuman strong, but have no physique at all. Look like anorexic, misshaped, stickly, etc.
Ooh, that's tough.
Well, okay, am I actually as weak as a little girl with polio? Because like they can't even like function. Can I carry groceries?
You can carry groceries. We'll say that. You know, like you can function in normal life.
Can I go to the gym and get a good pump on some machines with like half the stack? Am I at least that strong?
You're average at best. You know, we'll say that.
If someone were to walk up to me with a jar of pickles, can I open the pickles? Or do I have to use someone else?
Get some help with the pickles.
This could be a real problem in my house. There's a lot of pickle jar opening.
I'm getting specific about this. Yeah, I need to know.
Okay, I'm going to answer because this is the thing. I think I would have more fun shocking people if I was the scrawny guy that was strong.
Right.
He's like, could you imagine, like, if you walked into, like, let's say Ron walks into his gym and he looks over at me, this skinny little, I mean, your description was phenomenal, and he sees that I have 9 plates aside on the squat.
Yeah.
And I'm walking over there. I got no belt or nothing, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" He's like beeline.
You're wearing jeans
and a polo.
Does he really have flip flops on? Yes, he does.
Crocs.
And then you hear it as he's approaching, as he sees the first rep and finds out. You hear someone go 22, 23.
Yeah,
I think that would be fun.
Well, I'm also thinking, body weight to strength ratio would be off the hook. So like you could do like all sorts of cool stuff, like 1-arm chin-ups, freak people out. Imagine how good he'd be on a bike. Hey, if I only weighed like 140, but I had superhuman strength.
It'd be nuts.
I just think that would be fun though. Because I mean,
let me get that.
Think about. I hate to do this, but think about if I'm just walking around and I've got a YouTube or something where we're just filming me throwing people off. You walk in the shop and someone's dealing with a problem with a tire, and you just lift up the car a little bit.
Yeah. See, Dusty's already monetized a YouTube channel around this character.
I'm trying to become this guy.
Yeah,
he's already got like phrases and hashtags copywritten, like skinny strong, and
exactly all these shirts being made, but only in small.
Yeah, only in small. Okay, I like that one. Yeah, it was good.
I don't know what I would pick, but I feel like there is a Paul Dillette joke that I'm missing in there somewhere.
Well, that's all about speed. That's all about speed right there.
That's very 90s.
God. Let's see here. Boom.
Who's next?
Oh, it's bodybuilding, but it's fine. Does exogenous insulin use blunt fat loss?
Yes.
Well, it's complicated. Well,
you're right.
It has to do with calories. It has to do with calories. It has to do with, at the end of the day, it always comes down to deficit or surplus. Always. And insulin itself doesn't prevent fat burning from happening. Like you can be on, your body makes insulin when you have aminos. It makes insulin when you eat protein. It makes insulin. It makes insulin when anything is turned into glucose. So it's not that simple. I understand how you could word it to be like, well, yeah, insulin does this and this and this, but I just think the way question is, that's my answer.
I like your answer. We'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense because I know what the thought process is. And my answer, although not used on the regular, is the only time I ever used insulin was during prep.
And it was to push carbs in quickly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with that, and again, it wasn't every day, but with that answer, obviously, I'm not trying to blunt fat loss. I'm trying to fill back up and move on. And sometimes it was a day, sometimes it was 2 or 3 in a row, but so that should be the overall answer. So that's why I wanted to throw that in, because my knee jerk is of course the same as everyone else's, like, because your answer isn't the insulin. It's yes, it does, because you're going to take a bunch of carbs and eat too much, which is why it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So taking 20 units of insulin and then eating a bag of cookies blunts fat loss.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
But was it the insulin or the cookies?
I had to eat the cookies because I took the insulin.
Yes. Oh, it's a classic. It's a classic. Well, no.
Okay.
No. How was life?
I just reminded myself of one time where I did go hypo and I ate a whole bag of cookies.
It happens.
It happens. It's gonna happen. You're gonna take your whatever I was taking at the time. I mean, that would have been the late 90s, so probably like 10 IUs post workout or something. And I remember, I don't know what happened. I was like fully orange juiced and fucking post workout, and I thought I was okay. And I remember driving home and like I had groceries and I had bought a bag of cookies because I thought, I'll have a cookie once in a while. It'll last me a month.
Or a car ride.
I started like losing it in the car, and I'm like dripping, and my hands are like ice cold sweat just dripping off them. My steering wheel's wet, and I'm like just shoveling this fucking bag of cookies in my mouth. And I get home, empty bag of cookies.
What kind of cookies were they? Asking for a friend.
They were Asking for a friend. They were the like the double chalk, so not Oreos, but like double chalk, like ice cream Fudgios. Fudgios, that's what they were.
Fudgios.
Fudgios.
I have to try that. Is that a Canadian thing, Scott?
Might be. It's like chocolate fudge in the middle.
I've never heard of them.
Cookies.
I'm thinking they are. They've got to be.
That sounds amazing.
It does. Yeah.
Shit. Why do we get fucked on this deal sometimes? The Canadians. Okay, I want to ask this one, even if you don't have, if you have one ready, because I like the way that people's brains work. Would there be a difference, really, in a 10-week 200 milligram Mastron or a 300 Mastron for 7.5 weeks?
What was the question?
So, basically, he wants to know if there would be a difference in results if he took 10 weeks at 200 milligrams of Mastron. It sounds like he has a one vial of Mastron, yeah. or if he took 300 milligrams for 7.5 weeks. That's the question. I mean, the answer is obvious.
We don't hear you.
I can't hear you. Are you fucking memeing us? What are you doing?
What are you doing? I just got quiet.
I for some reason I hit the mute. Here,
you're back.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I've got a bunch of back.
My answer is get another vial of Masteron. That's what you do. Get another vial.
I literally laughed, but I was also like, well, you know, if you're doing like the very simple math, I'm like, well, 300 times 7.5, you don't make it 7.5 weeks, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
That's 2250.
Yeah. Maybe he's got like a bottle and a half or something.
So do you have like a little extra from the last one?
That's a yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought that was just funny because I'm like, we're trying to get the most out of one bottle, huh?
Stretching it out. That's like if I take 1 IU of growth hormone for 20 weeks, will that be better than
2 for 10? Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but like my serious answer would be you got to factor in again. Everyone thinks that the drugs are the magic. 10 weeks being on something. And still a moderate dose with your food, your eating, your training. Mastron's a weak example, but we're pretending it's any drug.
Right.
I would opt for that over a shorter time period with the same advantages for the food, the training. You know, because I'm really just wanting that extra 2.5 weeks of training and food.
Yeah.
Yeah. The growth hormone is a bad example because that's really
just a funny example.
But yeah, you know, like. I mean, if you did, like, you could word the question a million different ways. You know, you could do, if I do 4 weeks of D-ball at, 50 mgs a day versus 8 weeks at 25.
Yeah.
Right.
Longer.
I mean, that one's like, and then you could shift the ratios until the answer actually flipped.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I mean, I used to, I still do, and a lot of times encourage short blasts that are pretty hard and then get back off. But that's both about results and getting you off of shit as soon as possible.
I remember the days of being like, you'd get a really great item and you'd be like, fuck, I got to make this last. Yeah. Like I remember my first bottle of real Anadrol. It was an Anapolin 50, Syntex Anapolin 50. And I remember I think, okay, I got 100 tabs and they're 50 milligrams each. So I can do 4 25-day cycles. Right?
He planned it out.
So then I got some tests and I was like, okay, well, I can make each cycle 6 weeks long. And the first 25 days I'll have the Anadrol. And then the last couple weeks will just be the test. And then I'll go off. You know what I mean? So that was
picture
like my whole
Ron
year.
actually with a notebook. He's writing it out. He's got a blue fucking Bic pen. And he's like, this is how this is going down.
Yeah. There's also nothing like real Anadrol.
I was going to say, there's also nothing like drugs that used to be back then when they worked. That is one factor I think that you can't ignore is I can only respond to the doses people send me. And I'm always like, fuck, like it's way too much. And I still tell them it's too much. But I do also think, well, maybe some of it's fake because there's no way he's taking that much shit and looks like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I do. I mean, I got a lot of, I mean, I get a lot of people when they start out, and don't get me wrong, we adjust their eating and training and they start to improve right away. But sometimes I'm like, that stuff's got to be poorly dosed or nothing, because there would be some sort of a response elicited by just taking that much shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had a guy recently that sent in his stuff and he was on it for 6 months. I sent the doses to Turner and Tommy just to be like, holy shit, look at this. And I hadn't read down yet. So I just screenshot the dose. I said, and I went down and read again. And I go, oh, by the way, he's been on that for 6 months.
Good God.
And I was like,
oh, shit.
Tommy immediately responds with, so you're taking him off? And I'm like, everything. Right now. Yeah. Like, get off and please get in to see a doctor. We're fucked.
Yeah. One more thing too, and I can't say this enough. For everyone listening, trenbolone is kidney toxic. Period. Remember that. Testosterone is not. Okay, not all steroids are the same. Testosterone isn't kidney toxic. Your own test isn't toxic to your kidneys at all. Your body handles your own testosterone just fine. But trenbolone itself isn't good for kidneys. So keep that in mind. And if you're going to take, 200 milligrams a week, that's a lot different than 800 milligrams a week or 1,000 milligrams a week, which I'm starting to hear from people like, well, not starting to, it's been years, but like I still hear like, oh yeah, I was doing 800 tren and 800. I'm like, whoa. Like,
yeah,
like, fuck, you can't do 800 tren, man. Like I trust, take it from an old school guy. I know people hate that bullshit. Oh, he's old school. He doesn't do things. That's why a lot of the old school guys, like, we're trying to pass this wisdom down to you. Like, don't do that. So whenever I hear like cycle safety and everything like that, that's one of the major things that's going to cause a lot of problems with a lot of guys in the future is the absolute reckless abuse of tren and guys who don't even compete. And they have to remember, like, trenbolone is not a toy.
Yeah.
What is the drag with tren, you think? Why is it that it's such a popular, like you said, because it's a very popular drug. It works. Yeah, but so does EQ.
But not like tren. Not like tren. Tren's so damn strong. And, there because of that, there's that lore, and you feel it. Like, you take tren and like, oh man, I'm getting that tren rage, and I haven't been able to sleep. Like, people, I think they associate that with like, that means it's got to be working.
That's positive.
Yeah. Like, it's funny.
Sucks in my opinion.
It's funny how sometimes side effects are like, and like, I know we used to joke, you get the big balloon face and you're like, that fucking D-ball's real.
It's working. Yeah.
It's real. I look like hell. That shit's real.
The fucking here comes the 3 plate for 10. Here comes the bench. Let's go. Like, it was all like sort of celebrated, but that was like a pretty much purely, if you watch your blood pressure, but more of a cosmetic side effect that people would like, it was like a cultural thing with the bodybuilders, but the trend thing, it's like, I hear guys say it all the time, like, oh yeah, the psycho man. Like, I'm just, Dana Baker is hilarious. If you guys follow the Big Baker boy, all his trend reels are hilarious. But just the whole lore, like, I'm not sleeping now. It's time. We must be growing.
Yeah.
Like, right.
It's like, man, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah. I'm always curious because I always that was something I typically did in prep, and I would take 300 milligrams of Tren A, and that's it. And I mean, obviously with other things, but 300 was good to go. And it's not that I don't put it in anyone's off season ever. Obviously not A, but again, 300 milligrams, 400 milligrams is plenty. That's a lot.
Plenty.
I mean, so you're right. I had somebody send me a gram. I had somebody send me that they were on a gram and a gram of test. And, good bodybuilder, good physique. But I was like, why? Because all I could think of that would happen between 400 and 1,000 is side effects.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So I went to 500 tren once for like a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I was prepping for a show, and it was like probably the biggest stack I ever took. I was just kind of pushing it to see if it made a difference. And I remember from 300 to 500, I was like, wow, this is like I was like, oh, so like, because I was always one of those dudes where people would say like, oh, psycho, I'm getting so pissed off at traffic, and I'm gonna be like, oh, it's not me. I'm a laid back dude. I don't really notice juice. Like I'm the same person off and on. But then when I went to 500 Trent, I was like, oh shit, like, okay, I don't want to pull someone out of their car at a red light. I gotta like just like fucking noticeable.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. And just being like irritated with everything. Like everything. I remember you're dieting too, right? So the irritation is like just a constant hum.
Yeah.
Just with everything that everyone says and does that last bit. And you're like, crank the trend up to 500. And now it's just like, oh God, just fucking kill everyone.
Or
like,
at Halo.
Yeah, I hate everyone. And I just didn't want to, I don't want to, And I don't encourage people to live like that in their prep. There's something wrong. It's not part of the necessity to win.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. No, I told the story before. A lot of people here probably haven't heard it though, that I was 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out and my girlfriend was like 1 week out. And I was getting out of work and we were going to drive so that she could do some posing with this lady. And it was like Detroit, Metro Detroit's real big. And we're like on the exact opposite side and in an area that I never really have gone to before. And so she printed out the directions on MapQuest. That gives you a little frame of reference as to when this was. Yeah, she was in charge of this because I got out of work. I got my food. We're like coming home. I'm getting ready. We're going to go straight out there. She's driving. And like, it's an hour drive. And so I thought to myself, okay, and I'm starting the Halo today. So it would have been like 2 weeks out. I'm starting the Halo today. I'm going to train while she's doing that. So I'm going to take my Halo. I've got my meal for after we train. I just ate, we're good to go, blah, blah, blah. We get on the road. Hour and a half later, we're lost, like in a city that I've never been in before. And I'm calling my dad and he has like no help for us. And we're calling the girl she's supposed to meet. We're like so lost. And like, we didn't even know where the fuck we're going. Like anything. It took like 2.5 hours to get to that gym. And like I said, so I took the Halo, and I'm pretty chill, but I will say Halo gets me kind of wound. Plus I was starving. Yeah. By then I'd like already eaten all my food. And like, I'm like, it's the end of the world as far as it was the worst. I remember like wanting to just rip the dashboard out and like, we didn't even know. I'm getting triggered. I'm going to just take a breath. It was a long time ago, man. But I remember I was so mad that day. Like it was the worst day ever.
What's your heart rate right now? Just telling that story.
I don't know. I should probably check it. I'm going to have to go back to the cardiologist.
Checked that thing before he came in. Good thing that story was after we found out his heart rate's fine. We're good right there.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Thank you for tuning in to another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. If we've provided value to you today, then please consider contributing to our show. You can help support the show through Patreon. Every $5 helps to pay for the software and the hardware and everything else that goes into making a podcast. You can also contribute by using our code at True Nutrition. True Nutrition has been our title sponsor for several years now. I'm super grateful for them. And I've believed in True Nutrition supplements long before they sponsored our programming. You could use our code THINK for health supplements and performance supplements. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions. And if you're in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. They have free shipping over $99, huge discounts on overstocked, short-dated, and label-changed products. Plus, they have all your normal supplements too. Thank you guys for listening to the commercial. I hope you're having a great day and that your bodybuilding is going well. Let's get back to the show.
I've got one. It's about cheat meals.
Yes.
It said unexpected cheat meal, which means you cheated on your diet.
Yeah,
right.
It makes
unexpected cheat meal.
Surprise.
So you ate a bunch. You ate a bag of Wendy's in your car, right? That's what that means.
While you cried.
Okay. And the next day, they're not dieting. It is off season.
Okay.
So it's off season. They're not prepping, but they went and had a calorie bomb.
Okay.
Next day is supposed to be a rest day. Do you still have a rest day anyways? Or do you think, fuck, I got to go train because that meal was off plan. I should go do something.
Scott, you're going to answer first. This is a easy one for me, but in my brain. So I want to hear your perspective.
If you're in a good spot, like you're not all beat up and you need to rest, then I'd say hit it. That's what I mean. It depends, but that would be my thought. Like if you were going to have like, okay, tomorrow's off. If you need the rest, then take it. But if you're like, well, but the next day I'm going to train back and I feel great, then I would train back.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say my thought is the same but opposite, which is
the same but opposite.
You no, because the thought process is this: you already ate the food, and you're not going to add an additional workout to your week. You're just moving the day it is, so you're going to burn the same amount of calories this week either way. You ate too many. Like you're not undoing that meal. Now, if you think that meal is going to make your workout the next day better, sure. But it's off season. You're already above, caloric needs anyhow. And quite frankly, this is the one area where I've definitely changed in my bodybuilding mentality, which is I give all of my clients cheat meals every single week if they're in the off season. Some of them 2 or 3 a week, and I call them treat meals instead of cheat meals because you're not cheating; it's on the plan.
Yeah.
But and if you're an experienced bodybuilder and you're doing your own thing and you opted to have that meal, I don't care. Like I do really think that that's one area where bodybuilding's gotten a little out of control, where we're so obsessive on the food. I'd be more disappointed if you missed 3 meals or 2 meals than that you had 6 and said, fuck it. I also ate 4, whatever their sandwiches are and fries. I'd be like, okay. I think it gets a little bit thrown off because if you're just a natural fatty, you're in a bad place. It's just a tricky topic, and I'm really cautious. Any of my clients listening right now are like, what? I can have cheats whenever? No, you're going to throw off what I'm doing if you're having them too often. But at the end of the day, I would much rather you eat that meal than miss one.
Right.
And I definitely wouldn't want you beating yourself up because in the off season, you went through the Wendy's drive-thru once unplanned. You know what I mean? So my take.
So one thing I want to point out is a wording thing here with the question, and I deal with this a lot. So the listener she says, the next day is a rest day. I'm like, okay, so today wasn't. You trained today.
Yeah.
So you had a cheat meal on a day that you trained. So you already you're already fine. If that's your mentality, you're already fine. Like you ate it, you ate it even closer to a workout than tomorrow is. Like tomorrow's a lot farther away than the workout you must have already done today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I totally know what you're saying.
Because people say that all the time. Like I have one person, I have them on a 3 days low, 1 day high carb. They're dieting, and the problem is they have some tricky shifts at work. So the training, the high day, the 4th day that's high carbs doesn't always land on a training day. Sometimes they're just working 12 hours.
Right.
And they had a real hard time with like, well, I can't do a high carb day on a day I don't train. And I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You're in a huge deficit all the time.
Yeah.
And you're trained the day before and you're training the day after and you're working the whole day that you're eating. Like your body doesn't work like that. It's not like, oh, I slept, I'm reset. So now all calories today will be stored as fat.
Right.
That's not how your body works. Like,
yeah.
In fact, I saw a guy on a podcast. He's like, people don't realize how body fat gets burned. There's actually at certain points in the day when you hit like, your body is always doing this all day long with everything, right? Just trying to find homeostasis and trying to manage itself. And there's moments where certain fat cells on your body are releasing lipids, triglycerides as fuel, and certain fat cells in your body are storing them at the same time.
Right.
Right? Because the glucagon that your body has made to manage insulin happens to be attaching to a certain fat cell, releasing triglycerides and all that stuff. And then the insulin that you made from eating carbs is still in your system, and it's attaching to other cells, telling them to store. Like it's a constant dance. It's not like today I get fat, tomorrow I get lean. Magical thing. And so in the off season, and of course when you're contest dieting and you're in a chronic deficit, then it probably isn't happening. Like,
yeah, well, I was going to say,
but
in the prep diet too, I think the other thing that gets missed, since you brought it up with a client, is when I give people the high day, I have to remind them we don't do cardio that day for a reason. And I don't want you eating. I need that extra. The purpose is the extra. They're like, yeah, I did 7 extra sets. I'm like, why? And I did 15 extra minutes of cardio. You're like, shit. Because I tell mine, I'm like, you're not doing cardio at all today, and I want you to run at 70%. Or if you don't know how to do that, if we have 9, working sets scheduled, I want you to hit 7.
And you know what else too? You mentioned it was a female, and I find this can happen for both men and women, but I've seen a lot of females that do have tendencies toward eating disorders. And if you ever think to yourself like, hey, I'm going to eat this food and then I'm going to exercise, so that if your thought is like, I'm going to get rid of that food, and you're going to make up for a mistake, I think that's a bad path to be on. If that's your perspective on it, I'm going to do extra cardio and then it'll be okay. Because now you've kind of you can possibly create a slippery slope with that, that leads to like orthorexia or, bulimia, like excessive use of laxatives, all that stuff. You don't want to get into the habit of like trying to fix something you did. So in some cases, it's kind of like if they are dieting sometimes and they're like, should I do extra cardio? I usually tell them, no, let's just get back on track. I know we have enough time. Let's just get back on track and we'll get where we need to be,
Yeah. I don't believe in tripping on something that's behind you. I agree. It's like, you ate that, it's done. Keep going.
I like that.
Keep moving.
Yeah. So
I like that too.
What do you do? What do you do if someone admits, so let's say it's contest time and they admit that they cheated on their diet? What's your response, Dusty? How do you handle that?
Well, it depends where they're at. I mean, the first thing is I ask my clients to be straight with me. I mean, this is very early, all of them. And the reason is this. So let's say you've been following the diet and I've got you running 3 low days for some reason. And pictures are tomorrow and you're checking in and you go out and have a cheat meal tonight. And then you send the pictures, you don't tell me. And you look great in the pictures. You're full, you're round, everything's locked and loaded. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Keep going.
Right.
And if you didn't have that meal, maybe you'd have been flat as a pancake. And I'd be like, ooh, we gotta give you a little bump here. So now we have things where the problem with that is whether, and this isn't everybody, but some people go, oh, I guess that cheat meal didn't hurt me.
Yeah.
Because you didn't notice. And the reality is, no, it actually did hurt you because you look better than you would have looked.
Yeah.
And
now
is an issue.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So it's important that I have the information. So I always tell my clients, like, this is your thing. I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not going to berate you. Like, you chose to cheat. Okay. But I definitely need to know about it so I can decide what to do. So if somebody says, hey man, I had a cheat, I'd be like, cool. Can you send me pictures real quick? And what did you eat?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it'll also give me data. I mean,
Absolutely.
Again, like, what do you look like today? Okay, you know what, dude? Obviously, I want you back on the planet. Give me pictures again tomorrow also. What happened from that thing? I mean, it wasn't planned, but now I might as well get some information out of it. But I will tell you, under no circumstance am I like, go do more cardio.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work that way. You fucked up. You shouldn't have done that. You know that. And it's also the reason that I have clients that are ahead of schedule, because what if you get sick? What if you get hurt? I'm always assuming that something may pop up that might slow us down. And I don't ever want to be like, well, you would have made it, but I gave you 8 weeks to prep for a show you needed 8 weeks for, and you got sick.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all factored into the plan, is that, things happen. And you guys know this with newer athletes, that happens, If anything, the only thing I get out of it is a learning lesson, because I'll ask them, I'll say, do you feel much better today? No, I'm still tired. Yeah, so it didn't really do anything other than you feel guilty.
Yeah.
You had a taste in your mouth for what? I mean, you're starving. You probably ate that burger in 3 seconds. So you literally get nothing positive out of it. And I think that changing, again, that perspective of how they view what they got helps. Because I would do that during prep all the time. Like, yeah, burger would be good. I mean, you get it even, I know you've been here, Ron, where Chris goes, go have 2 cheeseburgers, and you eat it so fast that you're like, shit. I actually remember what that tasted like.
Yeah.
You ate it, it's gone, you moved on. And I remember that because it makes nothing tempting. It's like,
Right.
you know, a moment on the
I,
lips and
I
a
also
mistake.
I agree with you about not telling people, oh well, if you eat that donut, okay, let's get on a stepper for 300 calories, because that actually conditions them to bargain
Yes.
Yeah.
with themselves for calories, and
Yeah.
then they wind up just doing it on their own. They're like, oh well, Ron penalizes me this much cardio for every donut, so I'll just do that and I don't have to tell them about it. I can just have the donut and then do the cardio,
All
and then
equal out.
it'll all equal out, and it just gets out of hand. So I try not to play that game with people. If they go, okay, I snapped and ate some donuts last night, I go, okay, well, send me some pictures and let's try to move on. Like, don't beat yourself up. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And it's going to hold you back. And let's try not to sabotage the prep. Like, this is all to you, you know? So, but yeah, you hear some people say, oh, my coach yelled at me till I was crying. And I was like, well, that's one way to do it. But
yeah, it's never the only thing I would do in that regard is, like, if it happened a few times, I would just say, hey, maybe this isn't time for you to do a show.
Yeah.
Because you're not locked in. Like, because when you are locked in, it doesn't even cross your mind. I mean, truthfully, at least me, and I don't consider myself I work with a lot of bodybuilders, and a lot of them say the same thing. Like, yeah, it would be nice, but you never actually consider driving down to buy a donut to eat it.
I had a guy that I prepped. I can't remember what year. It's been fairly recent, but he did really well. He won his class. He came in ripped and everything, and I was super happy and proud of him. And afterwards, he goes, man, you really pushed me. And I go, yeah, you dieted really hard. He goes, yeah, I did 14 weeks without a cheat meal. And I was like, did you go because the whole prep is 14 weeks.
Yeah.
I go, did I not give you any cheat meals at all? He goes, no, none. I'm like, oh, it just never came up.
Yeah, didn't need them.
And he was like, yeah. He goes, I started to wonder around 5 weeks if I was going to get one. And then, the glutes were coming and you were really talking about the glutes. And then it just, and then the show happened. And
What do you want? You want a cheat meal or do you want to be
in
the best shape you
like,
possibly can be? You know what I mean? That's the question, right?
But the funny thing is that, he never brought it up and he never complained and he never tried to how some clients, you can tell they're like trying to get you to give them one.
Oh yeah.
Like,
they're asking.
Flat. I'm so depleted. I'm like, depleted? I saw you squatting 4 plates for reps the other day. What do you mean? You're bouncing around the gym talking to people. You're full of energy. You did 20 sets of chest yesterday, even though I told you to do 10. Like,
I had somebody tell me they physiologically needed a cheat meal.
Yeah, I just really need one. And I'm like,
I was like, you're physiologically?
Last week you were 235. This week you're 235. You don't need a cheat meal,
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Right. You got another one, Scott?
I got a shout out to a female listener. Actually, that's
okay.
We got everything female goes because there's only 32 of them.
Yep. Well, this is 34 because we had 33 on the comment the other day. This is number 34. Her name is Laura. She is a client of Victoria's, and I met her the other day because I accidentally stumbled into Victoria's office while she was on a consultation with her, and they were on FaceTime. So I was like, "Oh, hey," we got to talk for a second, and she had an interesting comment. She told Victoria, she said she feels like that a lot of times she gets to hang out with the guys on this show that we'll talk about stuff on the show that we might not talk about with her directly. Like if you were to meet this girl in the gym, you wouldn't say all the bro stuff that we're saying necessarily. So it's like go ahead. She said it was a fun perspective. And so she's been watching all the shows and she especially likes this one. Laura in London, Ontario.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for watching.
Yes. She's cool.
That's awesome. But yeah, I would absolutely say everything the same. That's how I am.
I know you would.
Nothing changes, but yes, the good men would definitely alter.
So, do you have one? I've got one more, Dusty. If you got one more,
shoot. Yeah, go ahead.
This is like a big picture philosophical one. Any advice on how to live more in the present moment and not worry so much about the future?
That's easy. I mean, to me, it's easy because truthfully, it sounds deep, but it's not. The present moment is the only thing you have. You don't even know if there's a future. So I feel like, and we've covered this in bodybuilding, but it's the same in life. Your urgency should be for the moment now. Your patience should be for what the future brings with the effort that comes from now. You know, whether it's, and I hate to use effort because it sounds like you're constantly striving, including if the moment right now is to relax and just take it in, you know? So it's very easy when you've been sick and woken up and realized you almost died to really realize that, like, at no point in, you know, on May 13th of last year, I'd be like, well, I might die today. You know, I had lots of plans for months down the line, you know? So it really does help because it's all you have. So I think you have to remind yourself of that. And although we all strive for things in the future, it's really, really important to be grounded and centered on what you're doing every single day and pay attention, you know, because even like the show, like I enjoyed this on a different level because you're like, oh, I get to do this today because I made it here. Let's be in this. And when we hang up the phone, I move on to the next thing. You know, I think that's advice I would give anybody in anything is when you're doing something, whatever it is, do it 100%. If you're watching a movie with your girlfriend, put your fucking phone down and watch the movie with your girlfriend. When you're done, pick up your phone and move on to the next thing. You will enjoy and be better at every single thing you do if you approach it that way.
It goes to, I know we had a discussion with Turner about perspective. And I think that people who have perspective issues have trouble with this. You have to, there's like in order to have confidence in anything, you have to have built up your confidence with, you know, a lifetime of small little challenges that you conquer, you know, and it starts when you're a little kid, you know, and you do things and your confidence gets a little better. And, you know, everything going up and saying hi to someone and they say hi back. Now you're more confident with people. Like you build your confidence through what you do with your life. And I think it's important to get to a point where you're confident in the fact that, you know, that if you just do things properly, tomorrow will come and you'll have tomorrow's stuff to worry about tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like staying very focused and keeping your perspective. And that old saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's a huge one for me because that's like what you were saying, like focus on the task at hand, you know, make sure you watch the movie. Like if you're going to spend 2 hours watching the movie, you should be able to talk about it with someone after. You shouldn't have been distracted the whole time and not know what's going on. So that's very important to me. And that's part of perspective. If you do everything with your intention to do it right, it sort of fills your mind and you don't wind up focusing on like the panic of the future. You know, you're busy being good at something right now, whatever it is, you know, because if you're doing something with your intent and focus, that's a problem. Is a lot of people, their minds are just wandering all day long. They're at a mindless job that they don't need to think for, or they're in a situation where they don't have anything to focus on. And of course your mind is just going to race and race and race about all the possible things that could go wrong tomorrow. But you got to keep your mind focused on something that you're working on. You have to work on something, do it with intent, do it right, put what you have into it. And it sort of prevents you from all the nonsense of worrying constantly about fictional futures that haven't occurred yet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I like that perspective. It's true. If you're really focused on what you're doing now, you can't be thinking about the other things.
Yeah. I mean, like you have to try to find that balance point where you fill that gap enough that you have enough recurrent responsibility that you just
it's true though.
Worried, you know?
Yeah. I like when things are simple and work in my brain because I'm like, oh, that's exactly what it is. If you're locked in, you know, because I get frustrated in the gym and it's an internal frustration, but I laugh because you'll see a trainer literally talking to someone and they're talking back during a set. And I'm like, you're not in this set.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
Nobody
you can't be, because I do this for 20. I'm shaking the whole table. I've been doing this for 20 years. I cannot operate the incline bench to my full potential if I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Not even 50%.
Yeah. So, and that's the most basic thing I do in a gym. So I think that that's really key when you start thinking about life, and you nailed it, Ron. Because I think maybe that's the other step is if you do have time for that, then maybe some of the things you're doing, you should alter.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have a mindless job, and it sounds like, you should go look at something that'll give you something to focus on. Because I could definitely see that. I think of that all the time when I'm at places. I'm like, oh, that job would suck. He sits here for 10 hours and all he does is put people at a table and then goes back and waits for the next people. I'd go crazy. Right. The demons start talking. It's not good.
Yeah. But that's also why I think I've obviously training has been something where I can just turn my brain off and go into another world for a while where the future doesn't exist. And I've also found that sort of like, that's why I enjoy things like playing guitar. Or, now I'm, riding the bike and doing that sort of stuff, because when you're doing certain things, you're forced to switch off.
For sure. If you got a weight over your head, like
you got a weight over your head, or
it's hard.
You're trying to learn a song. Like one of the easiest ways to forget what else is going on is to focus on like learning a new skill. That's really, really turns off the rest of the world. So that maybe, that's what hobbies are for, man. Like maybe people need to, I saw a thing where they were talking about how, Americans aren't having as much sex as they used to have. They're not doing as many hobbies as they used to do. They're not there's just all these things they're not doing. And I think that's contributing to the rise of anxiety that we're seeing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta fuck and you gotta play guitar.
Well, we're being, conditioned too with everything in the world. There's so much coming in that it's harder, I think, to focus. And I totally agree with everything you guys have said. And there's two little things I'd like to add is that if you do say to yourself, like, okay, tonight I'm going to sit down with my girlfriend and watch TV like you always do, but I'm going to make sure I don't text. I'm going to make sure I'm plugged right in. If you do find yourself wandering, like your brain starts wandering, don't beat yourself up over it, because that's what we do. Like, you're not going to be perfect at it, but you can get better at it. So just remind yourself, recognize it. That's part of being mindful too, and being like, interesting. I just started thinking about what's going on Instagram. I'm plugged back in. Don't beat yourself up over it. That, number one. And number two, they actually have what they call mindfulness meditation. I almost said medication. And all it is
too, I'm sure.
Yeah. All it is just like,
trust me,
it's not like a lot of times people think, it's about relaxing. Meditation's about like relaxing and getting into another state, but it's really about being right here. And you just, all you do is you think about like, what's going on? What do I feel right now? I feel myself sitting in the chair. What am I doing? I'm looking at the camera, all those things. What do I hear? And if you even just run through those things for like 2 minutes, it will help to plug you back in, and you can expand that, and you can become more mindful, versus like being in traffic. I remember being in traffic and worrying about like, fuck, I'm going to be late. I'm stuck in traffic. I'm supposed to be at the gym now. My work day sucked. And I'm worrying about where I'm going and where I came from. But in reality, I can't do anything to change it. And when I learned about mindfulness, I realized like I can just sit here and relax, enjoy the AC, and I can get there when I can get there, because I can't change what's going on right now. You know what I mean? In traffic.
Right. Yeah. That's key. And that's what we talked about before, Scott, with people in the opposite, getting to the gym and thinking about their day and what they need to do after the gym. And then they wonder why they have a shitty workout.
Yeah.
So that reset that we talked about in the parking lot is essentially what you're talking about. It's getting yourself in that place where, okay, I'm giving myself 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever in this gym either way. I can either use it to benefit, or I can be half here, half there and suck at both.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, if you're watching this now, guys, and you feel like, well, I'm not as good as Dusty, I get distracted. Like, no, we all do. Dusty does too. We all get distracted, and it's just a matter of like really caring about it and trying,
Yeah, pulling it back in for sure.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
Absolutely.
The more you know,
wraps another one up. The more you know. I like that last question. But I definitely agree. You got to find a place where you can go where you can't think about the future for a little while. That's my advice. Get a hobby or something that ties up your brain for a little while. It's really good for you.
Get a gun.
All this.
Shoot it. Because if you have a gun in your hand, you could fucking kill people. So you got to pay attention to what you're doing.
Well, you know what's great about shooting? One of the things about shooting is all you got to do is pull that target in and you can see how your day went.
Yeah.
Take a look at your grouping, right? And the days when they have, you get a grouping like this, some days you're going to be like, that little mindfulness thing I did in the parking lot really helped me out today.
That's a good point.
It's like, thanks, Scott. Appreciate you doing it. You helped my shooting.
Okay. Remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Bring the bell.
And there we go.
That's good.
I jumped in fast this time.
Yeah.
No, I like you're like a drummer that's got a little bit of swing where he drags behind the beat just a bit on that last snare.
Yeah.
And it gives the song just a little bit of that. I like it.
We don't want to over drum.
You know what I mean? No, right? Hey, a good drummer knows when not to drum, right? There you go. Okay. Thanks everybody. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.